How secure or healthy is your marriage? Do you actually know? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm Leslie Dories, the your marriage coach. Sorry, creator of the Hero Husband Project and founder of Foundations Coaching. And if you already know that your marriage isn't as great or as strong as you want it to be, then I encourage you to get in touch. Just put a comment down below or go ahead and send me an email. But what I don't want is I don't want you to be like two of my recent clients. They were both shocked when their wives asked them for a divorce. And this is because they were following a couple of things that actually make you feel better, but don't actually make sure that your marriage is in good shape. And the first one is that they were using how they felt about it. So for them, while the marriage, there were some things that they would have liked in both cases. Most of the time it was more and better sex. But in reality, they were thinking everything was okay. And they weren't fighting. Um, things seemed to be going along again, just kind of with the flow, nothing bad happening, but nothing great happening. And so because they thought things were fine, they had no idea how their wives were doing. And in one case, what was happening was the wife was very unhappy. She didn't, she had given up on asking for things, on talking about the relationship. And in reality, that is the second thing that too many people do is when your partner stops talking about what they're not liking about the marriage, or maybe they have, maybe the fighting stopped and you haven't had a real conversation where you know that whatever the issue was that your partner was distressed about has been resolved. It's, well, they're not talking about it, therefore everything must be okay. Big mistake. Because what happens, and this is something that women do a lot, and they try asking, they bring it to the table, they're telling you that they're not happy about something, and you go down one of two pathways. The first one is what I was talking about of, oh, I'm okay, things aren't that bad for me, so I don't know what my wife's problem is. I had a friend who actually wrote a blog post about, the reason why he got divorced was because he left dishes in the sink. And I'm going, that's not why you got divorced. But his wife was complaining about the dishes in the sink. He didn't think it was a big deal. He didn't understand why she was making a mountain out of a molehill. And so he didn't take any action on it. Now, granted, it really wasn't about the dishes in the sink. It was about the fact that she was making requests and nothing was changing. And this is what brings up the second thing, is that if, and it's usually the wife, not always, but if your wife has stopped asking for the trash to be taken out, or talking, or no longer bringing what marriage problems to the table to your attention, you're thinking, great, it's all resolved. Nope. What's happening is it's gone underground and she's planning her exit. Now, in many cases, I have worked with couples where maybe the kids were 8, 9 years old, and the wife is just going, I'm just going to wait until the youngest one leaves the house. Frequently, it doesn't last that long. Frequently, she will leave before then, but that's the pattern, right? The pattern is that she stops asking. She stops bringing it up. She stops complaining about stuff. She just takes it underground and she's planning her escape. And that's what happened to my other client. Is he's thinking everything's fine, and suddenly she shows up at the kitchen table on a Saturday morning and says, I want a divorce, and he's blindsided. This is one of those things. You should never be blindsided by a request for divorce. If you're blindsided by a request for divorce, you are not paying attention. Now, I get it. You might think, I don't understand why our relationship isn't good enough. And the question that I want to ask is it really good enough for you? Right? Are you getting everything you want from the relationship? And if you're not, it's a problem. If your wife's not, it's a problem. Your marriage has to work for both of you. If it's only working for one of you, it's not working. And so if you're the one who, oh, it's working for me, everything's fine, or at least it's not bad enough for, in my opinion, to think that it's going to end, you're in trouble. And the third thing that you need to pay attention to is how much time are you actually spending with your partner alone together as a couple. Now, there is this, you should be spending at least 20 minutes a day just one-on-one with your partner. And if you're not doing that, then your marriage is at risk of dying what I call the death of 1,000 cuts. You're focused on other things. You're focused maybe on the kids. Maybe you're focused on an issue at work. And that's all legit, except if you don't spend time with your couple, with your partner as a couple, you're going to grow apart. The two things that people come to me with are we don't communicate, which is not true because you're always communicating. You just don't like what's being communicated, or you're not communicating productively, which is probably a better thing, or you've grown apart. And the reason why you have grown apart is because you're not doing anything to stay together. And I'm going to hear you. I mean, I had a client years ago who said to me, my marriage is important, but, and in my head, I said, now he's going to tell me why that's not a true statement. Because we tell people, you tell people what your priority is by how you spend your time. And if you are not spending any time with your wife or with your husband, then you're not really focusing on marriage as a priority. And I get it. I get it. I've been married for 35 years, raised 2 children to adulthood. I get it. I understand all of the pulls that there are on your time. And I understand the idea of settling. It's not that bad. But unless you know that that's how your partner feels, you're actually setting yourself up for trouble. So if you cannot answer that question, then I invite you to get in touch with me and grab my 5-minute relationship strength assessment to figure out where your relationship is. And oh, by the way, I'll have your partner do it too. Or you can just send me an email, Lesli at foundationscoachingnc.com, FOUNDATIONS, coaching, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie. Put a comment down below, because the one thing you do not want to do, and I don't want for you, is to be blindsided by your partner asking for a divorce. Please don't let that happen. Because what happens is that's when everybody goes into panic mode. And by that time, it's almost too late. So be proactive, figure out where you are, figure out where your partner is. And hopefully that was helpful. And until next week, stay loving.